I wasn't worried about winning the show. I think we were pretty confident we were going to do that. I was worried about a year later when we felt stuck. And it was tough. It was something that I was very firm about not wanting to do and felt like I had to. It, pun intended, launched us. But the very real things that I was worried about happening after, virtually all of them ended up happening.
How are you?
I'm amazing. Thanks for having me. We have half an hour to trauma dump, so you'll know me well by the end of the interview.
You may not see that on our T-shirt. It says "half hour to trauma dump."
Yeah, that is crazy merch, dude. And that's the end of the interview.
Is this your first time here?
Like physically in the studio?
Yeah.
No, we were just trying to figure out when the last time I was here was, and I can't really remember what event it was, but I remember doing a performance downstairs in the main area.
But first time in the Q studio.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We were just talking Ottawa. Center Point, you said?
Center Point's where I was raised, yeah.
And Dad was a musician.
Dad was, both my parents were lawyers. Growing up, my dad, government, human rights, but yeah.
In the government? Involved in the government?
Oh,
that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. They both had their careers, but my dad is a beautiful classical piano player. So we grew up with the over the rainbow type stuff that, he would just kind of doodle, and Lauren, my sister, and I would just stare and be like, oh my God. And then we went into piano lessons. And then my piano teacher told me I was going nowhere, and I was 6.
Is that true?
Yep, that's the end of that. Thanks, Tim. Tim, if you're watching this, screw you, buddy.
Hold on. You were 6 years old on your piano teacher.
I was 6 or 7, dude. And he was like, you're not going anywhere. And at 6 or 7, I'm not going to be like, I'll show you, Tim. I was like, okay, bye.
Hold on. Who's going anywhere at 6 or 7?
You're right.
You know what I mean? Who's
right.
going anywhere at 6 or 7?
Yeah.
What was he doing saying that to somebody?
I don't know, dude. He was not it.
So when do you start singing?
Our old nanny, when we were really young, told this story when I was a teenager, that when I was younger, she would take me to daycare and I would stand at the front of daycare and sing "Oh Canada," which is hilarious to me because I refuse to play. It's sing. I'm asked all the time to sing at games, and I refuse because I always forget the lyrics, and I'm not about to do that to my country.
People do not know it's actually one of the most stressful things a musician can do.
It's the word. Yeah. There's so much pressure
and
on you.
When you see those people who have forgotten the lyrics at games, feel bad for them.
Yeah, it's career.
Because most people, they didn't do that when they were practicing at home. Anyway, sorry.
It's too much pressure, and I'm not going to do that to a national anthem. And so I still don't really believe that story, but supposedly, that's when I started singing. And then it was grade 7. I think I was singing in the shower. I got out of the shower, got dressed, got ready for school. My dad was like, I think you could sing, kiddo. And at that point, we had a little bit of a tough relationship, and he was always a man of few words. And it was the thing that we started bonding over was me being able to do music. And so I went to school that day and I asked the teacher that worked there who did the music program, do you have any recording equipment? And he started helping me right away. So 12, I would say.
12?
Yeah, isn't it? It's pretty young.
Did you know that you had a voice that you have? Did you have some awareness of that?
I think it took me a while to get confident in my voice. I think I just didn't know. I was a very insecure kid too, right? So once I found
why?
I was just bullied a lot. It was
really?
Yeah, it's you lose some, you lose some. But I think all throughout my life, I just didn't know who I was. There was a direct correlation between me being bullied and having no idea who I was, and so. I think music, as corny, cliche as that sounds, that's what really helped me get there. And so when I first started hearing my own voice, because I was so insecure about everything else in my life, I was insecure about that too, until I started using it as a little bit more of a healthy thing in my life. And then I was like, I'm going to rely on this instead of it, instead of attaching it to something that's bad, I'm going to attach it to something that's good.
When you say I didn't know who I was, what does that mean?
I think I just, I wrote this song last year called Mistaken, and it's really me coming to terms with the fact that I felt my whole life I was mistaken. I was very misunderstood. I think I was a different kid. I was very creative. I grew up in a family that was very academic.
Yeah. And
I think that I'm pretty hard-headed. I'm that person in the room that somebody's like, you should do this. And I'm like, why? And they're like, just because. And I'm like, well, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I've always been that way. I'm still that way at 30. And I think that didn't bode well, for a lot of people, especially in authority positions,
So when you start singing, people are giving you attention. They're giving you love. They're giving you praise, maybe something that you hadn't experienced before?
Never, yeah.
And you start to feel like, hey, I got something here.
And it was for me. Like, it wasn't for anybody else. And I think that's what I love about my journey with music, is that it wasn't me constantly seeking validation from other people. It was just getting it very organically because I was doing something that I felt good doing. And that's pretty rare.
What's the story on this talent show that I've been reading about that was like a very transformative moment for you?
The talent show in grade 7, I sang Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten.
I don't know that. Do I know that song?
Yeah, well.
How does it go?
Okay, fine, I'll sing it for you. Twist my arm, jeez. It's the staring at the blank page before you open up the dirty window. And it was such a banger, but then it gets to the higher octave, and I couldn't sing the higher octave, so I just dropped it down. It's very anticlimactic, The whole point of that song is when it gets loud.
Did the crowd go crazy?
Oh, they loved it, and I think that, listen, Go Crazy wasn't like a festival performance here, but I think that it was the first time people saw me kind of come into myself, when the whole school knew that I was bullied. All the teachers knew that I was bullied. All the kids were part of it or just felt bad for me, and it was the first time they saw me in this setting where they were like, oh, she's cool. And I'm like, it's the first time like I ever experienced that in my life,
Were they nicer to you afterwards?
I think that was inevitable. I don't really remember. I think it was inevitable. Yeah, I started finding my people, some of which I acknowledged pretty early on were just there because they wanted to attach themselves to me.
Yeah.
And other people because I always say that like, we're never going to like eliminate bullying, like that's part of life. It's part of figuring out who you are. And when I figured out who I was, there was a direct correlation between me being bullied and not knowing who I was. There was a direct correlation of finding my people and not being bullied, especially as much when I figured out who I was. How can I expect other people to be able to define me if I don't know how to define myself, right?
Can you explain to me why you ended up doing culinary arts and not music when you got out of school?
Yeah,
because it sounds to me like no shade to the culinary arts, but they're fine arts. Well, they're not fine arts, but they're good arts.
Yeah. That should be on that. Come to culinary school. It's good arts.
Yeah, good art. It's not fine arts, but it's good arts. Yeah. Why did you decided not to do music?
I wanted to do music. I'm lazy. And every single program. No, just trust me. If there's something I'm passionate about, I will not be unworked.
Okay.
Or I will like you will not outwork me.
Yeah, I get that.
If there's something I don't want to do, I'm the laziest person you've ever met. And when it came to music, I just wanted to sing. I wanted to write songs. I wanted to learn about music itself. And every program that I had looked at, my parents were they had said, we want you to go to school. And I was like, okay, it's not that I don't want to go to school. I just don't know what I want to do. And there was this like, tiff between university and college. And I knew that my brain was more, catered towards college, like that way of learning, more hands-on. And when I looked at music programs, it was like music theory. I'm like, I don't want to learn how to read notes, man. Like, I just want to play.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Let's find something else that I'm passionate about. And I was really passionate about cooking, and I still am. One of my biggest dreams is to open a restaurant still.
How was culinary school?
It was beautiful.
What were you good at?
Honestly,
really?
Everything. And that's, I think, again, why I loved it so much, because it was something I was so organically good at. And it was, for me, I loved learning about food. I love learning about the chemistry of food, like what's happening to a piece of steak when you're cooking it and what's happening when you're emulsifying something. I love the science behind it.
I didn't know there was any of that stuff in culinary school.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the program that I went to, shout out Algonquin College, it true is sponsored by Good Arts. Anyway, that's what we call a callback.
Sponsored by Algonquin College, Good Arts.
Yeah.
Welcome to Q, Good Arts.
We're getting canceled after this. I have bad news.
Listen, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
So you're in culinary school. Is that where you meet Elijah?
Yep. He was in.
Is that his real name?
Yeah, Elijah Woods. Yeah, he was in. Not culinary school. I was in culinary school. I was working at the college, and he was in the music industry arts program.
The music industry arts programs, which is sort of like a music program, but also sort of a music business program.
Yeah, I think so.
And you meet one another and start singing or start writing? Or?
Yeah, I think that we started writing together, and I started, he was the first producer I had kind of met that was bringing my vision of songs to life, because I'm not a producer, and I never had that talent. And so he was the first person that really was able to bring out the emotion that I was trying to. He could emulate the emotion I was trying to bring out through like my top lines and the words and the melodies.
So a good connection right away.
Yeah, beautiful right away.
How does the launch thing happen? So the launch, from what I remember, is it's this reality show, singing show in Canada. The conceit of it was really interesting. That there would be a song. It would help me. Let me get this right. There would be a song written by somebody. I think it was Ryan Tedder, Your Year, and I should say Ryan Tedder, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Adele, big deal.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, all the big ones.
So he writes a song, and then they audition singers with the winner of the contest will get to sing that song.
Yeah. So each episode, it started with 5 people or groups, and you'd have an audition phase.
Yeah.
And the top 2 of that audition phase would make it to the round where you got to each cut a version of this song that whatever producer you're working with that episode. For ours, it was Ryan Tedder. You get to cut the song. And then you'd perform it in front of a live audience. And then
you're using air quotes.
Yeah, well, we know why. But I mean, it was real people. But you know how TV works.
Okay.
It's TV magic, and
yeah.
And then the judges pick who had the best version, and then that gets released into the world.
Okay, so how did you end up on that show?
It wasn't an easy process. We were kind of scouted for it, or headhunted for it.
You were already singing together. You were already making music together.
Yeah, we had never done a gig before. So initially, when Elijah and I met, we just wanted to write music for other people and like be writers.
Yeah.
And then we had met, my former first manager, and he was like, the music's too good. You got to do it yourselves. And so we started this group, and we released, a song or 2 or 3, and then we were headhunted for this program. And right off the bat, pretty transparently, I was like, I don't, this isn't the way I believe in doing music. This isn't what I want to do. And there was a lot of back and forth, and it was really tough.
What were your trepidations?
So many. I think music television is music television. Canadian music television is a whole other thing. I think that, I remember my old manager coming to me and saying, like, this is going to get us where we want to go faster. And I'm like, I completely don't believe in that. Like, that is the last thing I believe in. I don't believe in skipping steps because I think you have to go back and retrace them anyway.
Right.
It doesn't, I just don't think it builds a firm foundation. And so I think I was worried. I wasn't worried about winning the show. I think we were pretty confident we were going to do that. I was worried about a year later when we felt stuck. And I was like, I don't think we can make a decision for the moment here. I think we have to look ahead. And it was tough. It was something that I was very firm about not wanting to do, and felt like I had to. And I've been pretty open about that along the way. We did the show. Sure, it was, amazing experience. And I don't,
You won.
Yeah, we won, and it pun intended, launched us. But the very real things that I was worried about happening after, virtually all of them ended up happening.
So compare and contrast for me what everyone was expecting to happen and what actually happened.
I think that what everyone expected to happen was we were going to be launched into fame, and we were. The parts that I had kind of thought about that I didn't feel were thought about by everybody else was that we were going to be locked into a deal, because that's music television, with potentially like people that we didn't know anything about. Right, we didn't know how their work ethic, we didn't know how they worked, and so we didn't know if that was going to be the right fit for us. But we would have that taken away from us, that choice. Yeah, I was worried about that. That happened. I was worried about the stigma. I think that the stigma of music television, people who do music television. There were, I've talked to artists since, Canadian artists, who did have a really hard time with Elijah and I, because we win the show. They've been working for years at their career, and all of a sudden Elijah and I get all the festival spots, and we get the radio spot, and this and that and the other, because it was, it's like, it was one of those things that they saw us in the same way I saw us, that like, oh, we just kind of cheated the system a little bit, right? And I think that there's things that are wrong with that, tangibly, admittedly, and there's things that are not wrong with it. There's things that are totally okay with that. But I think what happened afterwards is it was, Elijah and Jamie, they're here because they won a TV show. And that was why we were there.
Were you not taken seriously?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways we weren't. And I've been told that by many people, right? I think that for me, it was like, is this just something that's in my head? And then I would talk to other artists, and I would talk to other producers, and I received that information that, like, yeah, it was tough for people to watch. People have been working for years and years at their career, And here we came and just kind of got all the spots right away.
I feel like I want to argue with you, but
Do it. Let's go,
It's your
baby.
experience.
No,
I can't
no.
argue with your experience, but like I was in this job where that was happening. And I remember listening to it and going, and this is not I would, if I didn't believe this, I just wouldn't say anything at all.
No, of course.
I remember listening. I remember when you guys won and listening to the song. And my partner was working as a top liner at the time, and she said, "You should listen to this." And I remember listening to it, and I remember thinking, "Oh, good people won it."
Which is a lot of people said that, which was beautiful.
Oh, good people want it.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing actually is doing the thing that it should do for people who need it, or people who deserve it. Oh, there's a good song, because I can tell you in like the history of Canadian Idol and the history of all these things, like how many good songs have we really gotten out of it? So that was my impression, that like, oh, it did the thing it was supposed to do.
Yeah, but unfortunately behind the scenes it wasn't, right? We
Yeah.
had such a struggle. And so that's what I mean, is that's the part that I'm thankful for, is that I think the thing, I don't want this to sound like it's coming from an egotistical or conceited place. Elijah and I could back up with talent. We were good at what we did, right?
Yeah.
And that's why,
yeah.
And so, you get a lot of people who win the show and then it's like, oh, you can't really perform and you can't really write a song and this and that and the other. I wrote a lot of Ain't Easy. I was a huge co-writer on that song, because we took the song back and said, this doesn't fit what I like. And I rewrote the verses. I rewrote some of the melody in the chorus, but whatever it was. And I felt like I contributed. And so it wasn't, for our experience for the actual show itself, people had complimented that a lot, saying that like, oh, you actually like did something.
Yeah.
So that
it
part
was unexpected, to be honest. It was unexpected that it was that good.
First of all, I appreciate that. Secondly, it was unexpected for us, and we loved it. We loved it.
I feel very guilty saying this stuff to you.
No. Listen, this is a safe space.
But they're compliments. They're
No,
compliments.
it's beautiful things, and everybody gets to feel their own way about it, right? I think the thing is that the parts that you say you loved about it, I too loved it. It was the latter. Or I guess I should say, it was everything that followed that was really difficult to navigate. And that's what kind of took away from the experience for me.
Is that why, and only talk about this as much as you want, is that why you guys split up?
I left after a while, just feeling really unaligned. I see the music industry differently. I see the world differently, and that has to be okay, you know?
Yeah.
I think that the path he wanted to take was very far from the path that I wanted to take, and vice versa. He believed the same. I was just able to walk away, you know? I think it contributed, the resentment of the show contributed to it.
Yeah.
But no, I think ultimately it wasn't that. It was just more pressing kind of issues between us and between the team that I was working with.
Not an easy decision.
Ain't easy.
Not an easy decision. Not an unemotional decision.
No.
You know, those formative, stepping away from the formative group, courageous thing to do. So you leave the project with Elijah. I think I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
Who knows?
You leave your management.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty on that, but I just want to tell.
Nor do I.
No one can ever tell me the end. Like I could ask any band, why did you guys break up? And they'll be like, oh, well, Dave, he wanted to move back to Surrey, and we had to. I say, hey, you left your management. What happened? They're like, I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to. 100%. Yeah, no different story here.
I'm not allowed to talk about it. I won't get you in trouble. We can cut that out
good.
too. But also, not a shortage of change in your life.
Not a shortage of change. Yeah, a lot of changes.
You stepped away from music. You stepped away from the public eye.
Yeah, I think.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. I'm pretty, as you can tell, a pretty open book here. I always say this. So in 2016 or 2017, I had a really bad mental breakdown, and it was like everything, all the cliche that is a mental breakdown.
Anxiety, depression.
Yeah, and I couldn't get out of bed and started intense therapy. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I think a lot of people who go through that and are out of it can say that, right? I had always said that was the toughest year of my life until I left Elijah and my management and everybody. That took the cake for, one or two of the hardest years of my life. And I think nothing in my life felt like I was in control. And I had lost myself. The thing that I pride myself on the most is that I'm unforgivably me. And I will always be unforgivable. That's why I got in so much crap as a kid, right?
Yeah,
because I was unforgivably me.
That's the story of this conversation
Literally.
in some ways, yeah.
And I lost my way during the years that I worked with that team. And it was one of the most upsetting and devastating things that I had come to realize because I had to take accountability for it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just saying, this happened to me. It was me saying, this happened to me and I let it happen. And there's no one else to blame but me. And that was really hard for me. And that process of undoing a lot of what had happened to me the previous few years, which, a lot of things can build up over that time.
Yeah.
I had to let go of those things and grieve walking away from two people that I had previously really cared about. Yeah. And it was like all these really tough things happening, which a lot of them were on me, a lot of them weren't. Doesn't matter. I have to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, who cares at that point? You just have to deal with it.
There's nothing worse, though, than the feeling that you got somewhere because of you or yourself, and then when you got it, you stopped being yourself.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
It's the worst feeling.
It's everything that I promised I would never do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I wake up one day, realize I had gone against everything that I had said. And what I will say is the process getting out of that, I've never felt more authentic and I've never felt more grounded. Yeah. And I did the work. I did 5 years of intense psychoanalysis to freaking get here. Shout out Cecilia.
They built a wing.
Oh my God.
In your name.
Yeah, at this point, they freaking better. Oh my God, they better. God bless her.
But I was just about to say that to you. The process of healing from that, the process of getting better from that, the process of moving on from that, I should say, is the process of learning how to be yourself again.
100%. And it's hard. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. It's worth it. And I can say that it's easier for me to say it's worth it because I'm on the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
But while you're in it, it's probably some of the hardest work I've ever done. Most valuable, but damn near unsurvivable.
And it's not linear. You might be good for 3 weeks or 3 months, and then one Thursday, it's all gone.
I literally got this tattoo. It starts from my neck and goes all the way down to my hand.
I was wondering what that was.
Because my mom taught me that, what she taught me is that karma's not linear. Don't wait for people's demise. It's not linear. Let karma take care of itself. And what that in turn taught me is that life isn't linear.
Yeah.
And it's ebbs and flows, and you can't control that. And so control how you can react to it,
Beautiful thing. Beautiful lesson.
Cecilia.
Cecilia.
That's my therapist, buddy.
Tim out, Cecilia in. Let's listen to the song.
I give you the world, take it all from me. Whatever you want, you can have for free. I would give anything and everything. If anything's left, it's yours to keep. I give you the world.
I was just listening to this morning. 17 million streams.
Not bad, eh? On Spotify
on
alone.
Spotify alone.
Yeah.
Not to mention Tidal.
Oh my God! Sorry, Tidal.
We're not even counting Tidal.
That was so dark.
That's Jamie Fine with "If Anything's Left" from her new EP. If This Is It. What is that song about?
I made a name for myself writing pretty dark and depressing music. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
And I met somebody coming out of what we just spoke about, two of the hardest years of my life, when I finally was able to kind of love in a way that I had never been able to before. My partner walked in my life, Vic, and she taught me a lot of things, but primarily that I deserve to be loved. And as emotional as that may sound, she really showed that through her behavior for the first time.
That's not basic at all.
Oh,
that's a powerful realization.
It was beautiful. And I was in a studio session in LA, and I had said, I want to try to, I want to write a happy song. I don't want to write dark and depressing music right now. I want to write a happy song, and I want to write it for her. And I want to write a song where 2 minutes and 42 seconds, or however long that song is, everybody's just freaking happy. It's okay. Nothing else matters. You're just happy. And that's what that song is for me. It's for her. And it's this kind of like, thank you for, showing me that I deserve to be loved,
I went on to the thing at the bottom where you click it on and you could see the top cities.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know this because Vanessa hadn't told me this yet, Vanessa, our producer, hadn't told me this yet, that you're...
Shout out, Vanessa. We love you.
Shout out, Vanessa. I saw the number one country was South Africa. Vanessa tells me that your music is blowing up in South Africa. How did that happen?
Social media, it's
Yeah?
a powerful thing. TikTok is it's going to be the end of me, I think, but it's also, something we need to be really thankful for. And I posted the first video of If Anything's Left, and it was the first time I had had a viral moment on TikTok. And it went absolutely viral. In many countries in the world, South Africa was like on another level. And I think they were this front runner for pushing the song in a really big way.
Had you been there before?
Never. It wasn't even on my bucket list. Like I never gave South Africa a thought. It wasn't somewhere that I ever thought about visiting.
That happened to, do you know Neon Dreams?
Yes, of course.
Neon Dreams from Halifax, that happened to them too. They had a good amount of success here in Canada and the US, and then they just blew up in South Africa.
And I talked to them, extensively about it because we were like, what's going on? And their experience with that country was so beautiful. I had said, I don't want to be one of the, we look at like the realm of music right now and how many like TikTok artists there are, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a TikTok artist. I'm an artist.
Because you don't want to only sell 300 seats.
Exactly, exactly.
I mean, not to be glib, but that's kind of a thing. A lot of this is not translating into careers for artists.
It's not. It's you sit in your basement and you write, and that's beautiful, making content, but then you get on stage and you can't emulate it, and you don't have tangible fans. I don't want to be that artist. And so I had said, we're getting our ass to South Africa. We're not doing this thing where we blow up in a country and we say, thank you so much, this was beautiful, thank you. No, we're getting on a plane and we're going to South Africa. And so we went.
Tell me the story of the first gig.
We went and played this festival called Beefstock Music Fest, and it was this woman who brought us out, Larnie and Lorraine. Like, the sweetest human beings you've ever met in your life. And they were like, we really just want to bring you over. And we were like, we're doing this. We hopped on a plane not knowing anything. That's a long flight.
Cape Town?
No, we went to Johannesburg,
right,
just outside of it. And it's like, we just kept flying, man. Like, you just keep flying. And you're like, the world's not this big. There's no way. And 20 hours later, we get there and we got on stage. And I always try to be really careful because I'm so thankful being from Canada. And I praise Canada often. And I'm really proud that I'm from here.
Sure.
The career that I have in South Africa is what I've been chasing in Canada for years.
Really? Well, so what did the crowd look like when you got out
It was
there?
insane. I think it was 4,500 people singing not just If Anything's Left, but a lot of the music, because they went and looked at the catalog. It wasn't just a TikTok moment. I gained tangible fans. And we got on stage, and I've never had that feeling in my life. It's everything that I've been chasing. And I got it there, and the band was what I love is that, so in South Africa they watched YouTube videos quite a bit, and so the If Anything's Left, I said to my label, I don't really want to make music videos, I want to do live videos with the band because I want people to see like what we do on stage. And so Darius and Matt, my guitarist and drummer, are in the music video for it, and they were just as huge celebrities over there as I was. They were tossing drumsticks in the crowd and signing and taking pictures, and I love that because that's my team. And so again, everything that I've been looking to achieve, we got a taste of there. And
does that inspire you more when you get back, or does that make you want to stay there?
No, it inspires me more. It keeps me pushing. I'm a very okay, use this as fuel.
Yeah.
And so, no, I think, it made us really want to chase other countries. It made us say, okay, what more work do we have to do domestically? What more work do we have to do here in Canada? It was really good for us.
Can I ask a hard question?
Of course you can.
Is there, what isn't lost on me, is your real name Jamie Fine? Mm-hmm. What's not lost on me is that everything you were just talking about to me, that like, hey, I lost myself and there were these expectations put on me and I started to act like somebody else and I had to step away, all around Jamie Fine. And Jamie Fine, someone you sort of perform on stage, right? And on social media and on TikTok. And I understand you're an open book. I understand you're very open and honest. Mm-hmm. But I think we're always someone different at home than we are in our public face. I can see you smiling at me, but like, we're always someone different at home than we are in our day-to-day lives or in our jobs or in all this stuff. And I think that when you go through a crisis like that, because I can relate to it, mm-hmm. when you go through a crisis like that, it makes you think differently about who you really are versus the person you perform to be, or the person you're comfortable showing to the public. Do you have any sense of who you are at home and who you are outside of the home?
I have a smile on my face because one of the things that I've always said I wanted to be is try to finally break that barrier of like, I want to be unforgivably me in every setting. And I think that because I found myself on stage is where I'm most me versus the other way around. I think the number one kind of thing I get is that like, I'm the most consistent person you've ever met. Who I am behind closed doors is exactly who I am in this interview versus on stage or whatever. You're
not a character ever.
No.
That's great.
And
not that I was accusing you of being one.
No, my God, I didn't take it that way. We're not getting in our first fight. No, I didn't take it like that at all. I think that's what I that's what I lost in myself, is that I started performing. But that's not who I am. I've never had to perform in my life because I'm unforgivably me. If you come to a show, I'm talking the same way I think Vanessa, I don't know why I'm talking to you behind closed doors. I think you came to a show. Ask her. I am the same person on the phone, talking to my friend, talking to a mom, talking to everybody as I am on stage, because that's what I love about me.
But you had to get there. You had to get there.
I think that's what was so tough, is that I was initially there. That was who I was. And then I lost that, right?
You.
I don't know. I mean, I have to take responsibility. You know, I think that part of it, yes, it was taken. A lot of it was I gave it up. It's an even keel of like accountability and also blame. Those two truths can exist at once for me. And so I lost it during that few years. And building that back was the hardest thing, because it you know, putting on a show, putting on a performance can sometimes be easier.
So what's the lesson? What's the lesson as we are in a time when artists are giving so much of their authenticity on TikTok and on Instagram, and big corporations are coming to them and saying, "Oh, we love what you're doing and you're so authentic. Let's change a little bit. Let's change a little bit, and we'll give you a bunch of money." What's the lesson?
I have always stayed firm. I think the lesson is that it's not worth it. And you can learn that the easy way. You can learn it the hard way. That is your prerogative. It is never worth it. You will wake up, whether it's a day from now or 17 years from now, and you will learn the lesson on your own at some point. That giving up, that's why I love where I landed in terms of my label and who I work with at that label, because they don't try to change me. They know that I don't care about money. They know I don't care about any of that. I want to achieve something with my music. There are two different kinds of artists in the world. There's people that want to achieve something with their art, and there's people that want to use art as a catalyst for something else they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And I am the former, and I will never change that about me. And so the lesson is, you will learn it. You'll learn your own lesson in time, whether it's now or in the future, and you get to choose what path you want to go.
Well, I really enjoyed talking to you.
I love you, dude.
Oh, come on. I love you too.
Oh, did we just become best friends?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Thanks for having me. Man.